What's up, Music Found? When I think back to the sounds that I used in my early days as a producer, the first name that comes to mind is Roland. And it wasn't just me. Some of my favorite R&B songs from the early 2000s were created using sounds for the Roland XV-5080. So, because I was feeling a little reminiscent, I decided to try the VST version, see if I got that same feeling that I got from those keyboards well over 20 years ago. I'm back, making an early 2000s R&B beat using only sounds from the Roland XV-5080, as I reminisce just a little. If you enjoyed this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, if you know me, you know I had to go straight to the guitar sounds. And when I did, it felt and sounded even more familiar than I'd expected. But I never owned the XV-5080, only some Roland keyboards like the Juno 2, JV80, and the Phantom X6. But because the 5080 felt so familiar, I decided to do a little research on one of my first keyboards, the Roland RS5. To my surprise, the sounds from this keyboard were in fact from the XV-5080. And the RS5 was actually the primary source to my sounds when I started producing. But I also heard a lot of sounds from another keyboard I had back in the day, the JV80. I didn't know this, but the XV-5080 has all the sounds from the JV1080, so if you decide to purchase this VST, don't buy both and make the same mistake I made. One thing I always look for is some sort of character that a real guitar would have. Listen to the subtle guitar string slides in this patch. If you really want those subtle string sounds to come through, one tip I'll give you is to not use the sustain pedal at the end of your notes or chords. The more you practice this, the more you'll know how much sustain pedal to use with your guitar. These are the little things that add something special to R&B tracks. I'll lay a quick drum pattern using sounds from MPC software. These are the only sounds that aren't for the XV-5080. To give you a little backstory on the original XV-5080, it was released as Roland's flagship sound module in 2000. But this doesn't mean it just had that 2000 sound. It also included all the sounds from the JV1080 and the JV2080, so if you're looking for those 90s R&B sounds, you can also find those in the XV-5080. I'm going to dig through a few lead synth sounds to get a feel for what the XV-5080 has to offer. Don't mind my mistakes. One of the best indicators of whether or not I'm going to really like a VST is how the lead synths sound. I always look for good EPs, pianos, guitars, basses, strings, and of course, lead synths. And after messing with the 5080 for a little while, I can say that it has all those covered. Now this isn't a sponsored video, but I want to let you know that the XV-5080 is half off at Plug-in Boutique until May 31st, so now is a great time to get it. Now this sound was listed under lead synths, which is a category usually reserved for sounds that you play one note at a time. This preset was however set to play multiple notes at once. But if you ever come across a sound that you would like to play chords with, but you can only play one note at a time, you can always just go into the settings and change it from mono to poly, or sometimes you'll see a section called polyphony. Just change that from unison or mono, and change the number of notes from 1 to however many notes you think you'll need to play at any one given time. But remember, sustained notes are also included. So I usually just set it to something like 16. played a lot of harps on a lot of different synths and VSTs over the years, but once I played this one again, I realized there was just something special about it. But because it's just a harp, I didn't even notice how much I missed it. Maybe I've just been in too much of a hurry, or maybe my ears have just gotten better. But one thing I've learned is that a sound is never just a sound, and even the softest, most delicate sounds can make a huge difference in your production. As you can probably tell, it's going to take me a lot longer to go through these sounds. I'm loving some of these sounds so much that I'm not even auditioning the surrounding sounds. And I don't think it's just because I'm reminiscing. I think Roland sounds are just that good. I've had some people ask where they can find this guitar sound, and I didn't know what to say at first. I do have it on my Phantom, and I also have it on my MPC Key 61. But for those of you who don't have those keyboards, you can also find this sound on the XV-5080. This one's called XV Steel Guitar 1. This is one of those sounds that didn't just go away after the early 2000s. These synth-based patches definitely scream 90s or even 80s to me. I only went through the first 7, so I still have a lot to try out later. But this bass kind of pushed the beat a little bit into the 80s direction. One of my favorite parts of getting new sounds is going through the lead synth presets, and the XV-5080 has some really good ones. Good lead synth patches aren't just about the sound. They also consist of playability based on things like the right pitch bend and mild wheel settings. And from what I can tell, these patches feel and sound just like the older keyboards that I remember. really like VSTs where the strings don't all sound the same, and I really like how the 5080 has vastly different sounding string patches for different scenarios. Instead of using strings, I tried some pad sounds instead to see how they fit. Even though this is more of an early 2000s beat, I can definitely hear a lot of these sounds being used in modern R&B. Honestly, good quality sounds don't really get old. I'll add a soft lead sound for the hook. I actually ended up not using this EP for the intro. I wanted to give the verse a slightly different feel than the hook, so I switched the bass line up a little. Roland's electric piano sounds just have something special. I remember when I first got my JV-80 and I just sat there going through the EP sounds. I can tell you, church for me in the 90s and early 2000s sounded like Roland EPs and pianos. Again, this bass sound makes the bridge sound more like 90s to me. Even though I do have a Roland Phantom, I have to say that I'm excited to have these Roland sounds that I missed from the 90s and early 2000s, and to have them as a VST is even more convenient. I want to hear from you in the comments if you have any experience with Roland, whether it's hardware or software. If you decide to try the XV-5080, let me know what you think. Let me know if you like it as much as I do. And here's what the final track sounds like after a little mixing and arranging. Alright, music fam, that's all for now. If this video resonated with you, here's another video I think you'll like. And if you do enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, y'all be blessed.